Greetings from Cybertron. This is SoundJack here with another episode of SoundJack's Rambles. And today I'm joined by Alyssa.
Hello.
And we are here to talk about a video game.
What?
Specifically, a Transformers video game.
What?
Actually,
that's not too surprising on this channel. That's not surprising. That's not a wah.
No. But specifically, a video game that we have played that is available for the internet to watch. Specifically, Transformers PS2 version that we played over on our shared gaming channel, RDSJ Gaming. If you haven't checked out that gameplay, our playthrough of it, you should definitely check that out.
Yes, definitely. We highly recommend it.
Also, if you're actually interested in it, probably check that out before you listen to this, because, like, spoilers for how well our playthrough went, I guess.
Yeah.
If that counts for anything.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you want the highlight reel, feel free to listen to this and then find which episodes we refer to stuff. So
yes,
that's also a way to do it.
But yeah, or unless also if you don't want to be spoiled by a game that's been out for 16 years about how that goes, check the playthrough out, I guess. Yeah. Yes. Check
the playthrough out. It's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
There are some parts that weren't so much fun, but you know.
Yes.
You know how it goes.
Yeah. So let's just hop into it then.
Okay, cool.
So first things first, probably the simplest part, the story.
Yes. So I think a little bit of backstory. This game is a tie-in, like all Transformers media is. It's ancillary to the toys, I mean.
Not all Transformers video games.
Okay, look. This video game is a tie-in to the
Armada.
To the Armada cartoon that came out in
2002.
Thank you. And so therefore it follows vaguely. It exists in the same universe. It's in canon to those games, to the TV. Oh my god.
Okay, so
explain then.
Everything is canon. They're just canon in their own universes.
I understand that.
Okay.
I understand that's how that works.
Yeah.
And my point is that it uses the same characters and the same designs.
Yes.
And it would not be incorrect to say that this video game is related to Armada. And
Correct.
It's supposed to be a tie-in to the Armada toy line and the Armada series and everything. Okay. That was my point.
Okay.
I know the story's different.
I was confused with your terminology.
I understand that it's a different story.
Yeah.
I get it.
Okay.
It's still...
Yes. But yes, Armada tie-in. You can play as Optimus Prime, Hotshot, Red Alert, and the basic setup is...
Not all at the same time.
No.
One at a time.
Yeah, one at a time.
It is not also a combination of... It is not also, not to be confused, it is not a single Transformer that is named Optimus Prime, Red Alert, Hotshot. There are commas.
Yes.
It is Optimus Prime, comma, Hotshot, comma, and Red Alert.
That's a weird name.
3... Okay.
Anyway.
3 separate characters.
Yes.
My point.
Yes. So yeah, you can play either of those 3, and the basic setup is the same as the Armada cartoon. The Minicons fled Cybertron on a ship from the Autobot Decepticon War. They got shot down, and when they came out of Warp Spacer, the space bridge, they crash landed on Earth, and then a million or so years later, there's a signal is activated, and the Autobots and Decepticons come to Earth trying to catch them all.
Pokemon!
Gotta catch them all! And then once you collect them all and fight the Decepticons, you gotta go stop Unicron from meeting Cybertron.
Yep. So basically it's a collect-a-thon-ish kind of game in an open world. Each of the levels are very open world-y kind of. Not really. Yeah. Actually, not really. It's not like GTA or like Minecraft where it's kind of like a sprawling world where you can do anything in. It's more like the levels don't have. It's not a linear layout to the levels. Yeah. It's not like you only have one path. You can go pretty much anywhere in the level.
But there's definitely like an encouraged path.
Yes, like any games.
Yeah.
Any good game gives you some kind of direction.
Yes.
And there is direction in this game, but
Yeah.
okay. Well, anyway, backing up. Before we begin, I think it's important to to mention that. Well, I had never played this game before we reviewed this, or my history with it is just Michael was like, hey, let's play this game, and I was like, cool.
And most of my knowledge with it was my one neighbor had it, and I played a little bit of it when I was younger, and then I saw play through it a few years later, and it's been a few years, and I'm like, oh, hey, gaming channel. Let's see if we can find the game, and then we happened to stumble upon it one day before we started the gaming channel, and we're like, yeah, it's going to be the first game I play.
Yeah. So that's what we did. So basically, both of us are fairly inexperienced with this game.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know everything about it.
No.
And none of us, it's not a nostalgic game for us by any means. So,
no.
If this is your childhood, sorry if we're about to go a little hard on it. Okay,
yes.
So just take a deep breath. It's okay. We all have different experiences with games. Yep. I know the feeling. There are plenty of games that I played that it took me a while to when I revisited it. I was like, wow, this game's actually kind of crappy.
Yep.
So please don't get angry at us. Okay, anyway. So that's the story. Yeah. I don't think the story, this game isn't very story driven.
No.
It definitely has more of a story than some other games, but I wouldn't say this game is very, it's not like a story driven game like an RPG, and it doesn't have, intense, complex emotions, as it were. Very basic, bare bones kind of thing.
It's just like, oh, hey, we see activity in this place. Go check it out. Oh, hey, we think Cyclonus is here. You should check it out.
Yeah. Just all kind of, sort of rationales to why you go into certain things in the game. That kind of thing. Yep. Justifications, backstory, whatever. Mm-hmm. So, and I will say, if you're into Transformers, but you aren't too into the Armada series, I still think you probably could just hop in and play this game. Yeah. Hell, you could even hop into this game and not know anything about Transformers, and I think you'd be okay. I mean, granted, you might be a little confused about some things, but, I don't know if it really detracts all that much. Yeah. You don't have to know 5 million different kinds of things in order to get that.
You just need to know how to jump, drive, shoot, apply your mini-cons,
etc.
And,
Okay, so what do you think of the story in general as a uber Transformers nerd?
I mean, you know what? It's you collect the mini-cons and you fight Unicron. What more is it to good than good versus evil?
I mean,
it's acceptable. I mean, it's good to get the gameplay across good enough for that, which is certainly the greater thing, and you got some nice environments at the very least you go through, and an explanation as to why there are save points here and why you're all over the world and stuff.
Okay, now do you think this game does the Armada series justice in terms of the characters?
I mean, probably better than the Armada cartoon, except for Starscream.
Okay.
Starscream, oh my god, everyone loves Armada Starscream. There's definitely more character development in Armada, but it's not like character development in Beast Wars.
Oh, okay.
It's absolutely nowhere near that level. A couple of the characters have some very interesting character arcs.
Okay.
But then there are other characters that are just oh no, I almost died. I managed to save his life. Does nothing for the rest of the series. Amazing. Except appear in the background.
Amazing.
So it did them good enough justice, yeah.
Okay.
The Autobots had their voice actors. Megatron's voice actor was there. I don't think Starscream or Cyclonus' voice actors were the same, though.
Gotcha.
So, that's a weird oddity, I think.
So basically, okay,
Yeah.
I see. Yeah, And as someone who isn't too into the deep lore of Transformers or really that much of a Transformers nerd in any right, I would say the story was passable.
Yeah.
You know, it was fine.
Yeah.
Like I said, a little more meat on its bones in comparison to some other games, but like not enough for me to be like, man, the story was great, you know?
Yeah.
So that's pretty par for the course for a lot of video games. So moving on.
Yeah.
So what do you want to talk about next?
Let's talk about graphics.
The graphics. They are very PS2.
Yes.
I don't really know. I don't think the graphics were really crappy. I think they were very par for the course for the time. It makes sense for the budget and the
limitations of the system.
And limitations of the system. Like, it wasn't MGS2 level graphics where, like, a lot of budget was put into it. Or, like, I even think that the original Kingdom Hearts looks better than this game. Which... the original Kingdom Hearts was not the best. It's not the best looking. Like, nowadays, when you look at the original Kingdom Hearts, you're like, oof, why does Ariel's face look smashed? Like it's, I mean, like, it doesn't look bad, but, like, obviously, there's some roughness around the edges nowadays, especially in comparison to, like, the newest Kingdom Hearts game that's come out. And I wouldn't say that this PS2 game is near that level, because obviously it didn't have as big of a budget, but, like, it's fine. It's like, I'd say it's like a step up, like a healthy step above PS1 graphics.
Like, I think
healthy step. In
terms of the character designs, I think they're all designed very solidly. I mean, they had very strong models to go off of, aka the toys. Mm-hmm. But nothing looks bad or off.
No, and I think the fact...
and the cutscenes are pretty darn crisp for...
yeah, they probably spent a lot of time, a lot more energy and man hours onto the cutscenes than they did in the actual game engine. Yeah. At least in terms of making the graphics nicer, which makes sense. That happens all the time, in games, especially. Like, I'm thinking of like a lot of the similar games around the time. If they're not going to make the cutscenes in the game engine, then that'll happen a lot. But I would also say that, you know, the fact that they're, you know, robots helps with the whole polygonal mess, or helps with making it easier to animate.
They're not humans, there's less risk of Uncanny Valley.
Yep, and that's always nice. Yeah. But yeah, I wouldn't say this game has impressive graphics. No. Even for the time, I don't think they're particularly impressive. Like I said, it's not MGS2, not Kingdom Hearts. I don't even know, was Kingdom Hearts that impressive graphics back in the day? I didn't play Kingdom Hearts when it came out, so I have no idea if it, like, could wow anyone. Yeah, I don't know. I know that I thought that, when I played a lot of PS2, I thought the graphics for, like, some of the Crash games I played were a lot better than like, in terms of, like, how polished they were in comparison to the PS2. But like, they're very less polygonal, but I don't think it's like, I think if you're looking for impressive PS2 graphics, I wouldn't go for this game. And like, they do their job, you know. Honestly, for me, I prefer, depending on the game, obviously, but if you had to choose between photorealistic graphics versus highly stylized graphics, I prefer highly stylized graphics, because I think stylized graphics tend to wear the test of time better than something that's actually trying to look as realistic as possible. Yeah. I mean, granted, like, there are games that still hold up even though they choose the photorealistic route, but I don't think the photorealistic route is, like, is always reliable or always the best way to go, unless it fits the story you're trying to tell or the mood you're trying to get across. Yes. So that's my little soapbox for game design. Yeah. So, you know. Yeah, so
it was good.
Very fine. Good. Yeah. Fine graphics. Nothing to complain about, nothing to really praise. Just there.
A thing to complain about are the controls.
Yeah. Okay, yes. The controls are okay, you played it. Yes. So on our playthrough, We did a co-playthrough, as I like to call them.
Yeah.
Not a co-op. It's not a co-op game. It's a single player. But you played,
and you
were on the controller. I was sort of on the background.
And you sometimes took over.
Sometimes I played a handful of times, so I've played enough
to know that the controls, especially with jumping and balancing, are not good.
Yeah, so the controls are kind of rough. They're very, I don't know if tank-like is the right word for it. But they're very they're definitely trying to evoke the feeling. Like, you feel like you're controlling a billion-ton robot car thing that's lumbering around the jungle. He definitely has weight to him. Yeah. Like, and I say that because any of them are he's, so it works. Yeah. So they have weight. The character has weight to it. But I don't necessarily think that that's a good thing, especially since So the problem, I think, with the controls is that they aren't really well designed for the kind of game that they made, in the sense that it's a combat game. Yeah. You're fighting enemies, and it's like it's a third-person shooter in terms of the gameplay style. Yeah. And you got shots coming at you from all over the place, and it's just really hard to, like, really maneuver yourself in such a way to, like, get good shots and also dodge enemy fire.
Because there is no dedicated dodge button. The only dodge is a minicon power-up.
Yep. Yes. And the dodge is, like, not that, like, it's a very slow, very premeditated dodge. Like, it's the kind of dodge you make when you're trying to avoid, like, a huge thing that you can definitely see coming. It's not very useful for avoiding, like to do, like, quick inconsequential dodges, which is not very good in this kind of environment. Now, I mean, quick dodges are more useful.
Excuse you.
Sorry. I had a really rough time sleeping tonight. Last night. I mean, so I'm kind of tired. But anyway. The problem with, like, in this game, like, there are games that you can play that don't have quick dodges, you know? Like, there are plenty of games that do well, but, like, typically the enemy fire compensates for it. Like, a good game allows the player to be able to avoid damage. I mean, they'd still make it difficult, but not impossible. Yeah. But I think in this game, it was, you really had to either, your biggest only option to really survive was to just make your character, like, able to just take all the hits. Yeah.
So, which is why Optimus Prime seemed like the best character. Yeah. Because he had the best defense and attack power. I'm sure Red Alert had really good... I'm positive Red Alert had really good defense, but he didn't have as much offensive power.
Yeah, he was more defensive play.
So, yeah. And then Hotshot was just fast, and that's not so good in this setup.
Yeah, so, like, I don't know. I think that the game would have been way more improved if there was some kind of quick dodge, or if there was no quick dodge, if they had just made the characters a little bit faster or like, maybe give yourself a lock-on capability. There is no lock-on for these for this game.
Except for, again, a minicon power-up.
Which is, like, guys... And, like, I guess you could argue that could be used to customize your game, but, like, I don't know.
You do it, but it's also because it's not like, at the very least, it's not like, oh, you've got this minicon, you've now unlocked this ability. Right. It's, oh, you've got this minicon, you have the option to use this if you don't have all of the slots filled with something else. Yeah. And you can only put certain ones in certain slots.
Yeah. So it has some limitations that aren't the best. And then I think the jumping is a little meh. Like, okay, I'm a platformer veteran. I think I can say that. I'm a platformer expert. I think I can say that with confidence. Yes. Most of the games I've played in my life, / the ones that I'm the most experienced with, are platformers. So I think I'm fairly good at telling if a game is a crappy platformer or a good platformer. And I don't think this game is the best platformer out there. I think sometimes it's really hard to judge. Like, I think it's hard to judge sometimes how high you can jump and if the platform is high enough for you to jump. because it's very momentum based, if you build up a lot of momentum, it takes a while for the character to stop, which can be really hard when you're making precise movements. Now there are a lot of platformers that are like this. You know, Sonic the Hedgehog is a famous example of a platform that's built on a lot of momentum, but the platforming in that game is built around the concept of him being able to fly at really fast speeds. So, but I don't really think this game really built around that. There are some moments that need a lot of precise platforming, and it can be really easy to miss.
Yeah.
Especially when you're someone like Michael, no offense, who is not as skilled with platforming.
Yes. But you even had trouble getting up just that, like, pyramid.
Oh, yeah. I definitely had trouble with it.
Yeah.
And so it's not the easiest controlling game in the world.
One thing that made our playthrough harder certainly was the brightness. But that's more so on our end.
So if you are just playing this game at home, I don't think you should have any trouble with brightness settings. I think it should all be well lit and be fine. Unfortunately, when you record a game on the Elgato, which is a game recorder, like a gameplay recorder, I think it darkens the screen. Yeah. So that normally wouldn't be a problem, but there's an extended sequence in the middle of the game where you're going through a cave system, and because of the Elgato's darkening, we literally could not see anything.
It's as dark as Unicron's stomach.
It is very dark. Like, if you look at our video playthrough,
you can basically just see Optimus, and that's it.
I think you were playing as Red Alert at the time.
We did? Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah, you're playing as Red Alert at the time. So you can just see a robot and then just black. Yeah. And that's it. So it was awful because it was so hard to see. But I think in a
because I have seen playthroughs, and that's honestly how we figured it out, looking at playthroughs and being like, okay, where do they go?
Yeah.
I feel like some of it was your TV's natural settings, and we tried to fix it, but we couldn't get it right. Yes. So if like that is a thing, at the very least, that like if you don't have the right brightness settings, there are sections that will be bad.
Yes. But I don't think the game was. No. I don't think the base game itself is badly lit. Yeah. Obviously, there are games where it is badly lit, but that was not the case in this game. No. So that's fine. Yeah. We just that was just a big roadblock for us. Yeah. Which was really unfortunate and very frustrating, but I think pretty funny if you watch those episodes. So.
You know what's also funny?
What?
And also bad?
What?
And also the game's fault?
What?
The physics.
Oh, lordy.
The physics of when you get hit with a big blast and you just ragdoll halfway across the map.
Yeah. I don't know why they decided that whenever you get hit, your character just gives up on life and just flops to the ground like it is a literal action. Not even an action figure. Yeah. Like an action figure with the loosest joints, and it's just a ragdoll. It just flops around. Yeah. And like Optimus Prime won't get up
until it's completely stopped. Because
he's flat on the ground and then he gets up.
Yeah, because there was one time we were falling down a mountain and he started ragdolling, and then he just started like sliding very slowly, and it was like, get up, Prime, and he couldn't because he wasn't on the ground yet.
Yeah, it's pretty funny though, and the enemies do that too. And every time I just cracked up. Like, I don't know, it's just so funny just seeing this tough, glorified war hero just be like, wee, every time he gets shot.
Wee, I have no muscle. I or whatever robots would have instead of muscle. I have no joints. I am just a free bird flying through the air.
Yeah.
At the mercy of the universe.
It's just like, what even is this? So that was pretty funny, and definitely a highlight for this game. Yeah. And in my opinion, maybe even worth the price of admission, depending on how willing you are to suffer through some of the more difficult sequences.
Yeah. I mean, like, the price of admission is probably whatever you pay at your local gaming store that happens to carry it.
Well, yeah.
A local, like, small, like, vintage game store, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, what was our 7?
Probably. It was we got it for a fairly cheap price, so I don't think we got ripped off or anything.
No.
And that's kind of what you get with some of the older like games that aren't collector's items. Like, who knows how good they are.
Yeah.
So, trying to think of other things to talk about. Okay, so other thing I wanted to say was that the other mechanic in this game that's kind of broken is the flight mechanic.
Yeah.
So there's a gliding aspect to this game.
Yes.
You get a mini-con in the game, and it's mandatory.
For some sections, yeah.
So you have to fly with it. It's called Slipstream, but like, who cares?
I do.
I don't. He doesn't deserve to be called his name because his flight mechanics are broken. Anyway, so the gliding is like, okay, I play a lot of Spyro the Dragon series. Is one of my favorite gaming series of all time. So I'm very familiar with gliding mechanics as a function of gaming. And in Spyro, flight mechanics are pretty easy. Now, I have been playing the remaster version on my own, and I have been struggling a little bit because the way the remaster's controls works, I kind of need to wrap my head around it a little bit more. And especially in the first game where Spyro does not have his hover ability, it can be really hard to judge what he can hit. But I would argue that the flight mechanics in Spyro are way better than in this game, because I feel like you have way more control over where Spyro goes, you have way more control over how high he flies, etc. The flight mechanics in this game are very, very loosey-goosey. It's very easy to end up spiraling to the ground. You can't control height at all when you're gliding with Spyro, except if you're in the speedways. But even in the speedways, it's not that hard to control him. He's very easy to control. He doesn't. If you move him to one level, he stays at that level unless you move him down. So like, the only time you lose control is if like there's a really complicated like dip you got to do, and then you end up overshooting, and then you fall into the water and die. Yeah. Like, oftentimes, if something happens, it's definitely your fault, and not like you fighting against controls. But I feel like these gliding controls were fighting against you the whole time. Yeah. And it was just very loose. It was really easy to mess up, and especially since to get some of the stronger mini-cons later in the game, they really expected you to be able to glide to very specific points. Yeah. And not only be able to keep yourself level, but also land on a specific point and avoid a friggin' tank that's right there waiting for you. And you're just like, there's literally a whole sequence in the playthrough that we did of Michael flying over it, slamming into the hill, getting shot by the tank, and him falling to the ground. There were a couple times where he actually transforms over it and then like falls down as a truck. It's pretty funny. Yeah. Honestly, check out just that episode if you want that. But it was painful. Yes. And I don't even know. Did we even use the mini-con that we got from that point?
I don't think so.
I don't even think we used it. So like, I know we needed it. Yeah. But like, a thing. But like, oh my god. Anyway. But
are you done with the flight mechanic talk? Because I could transition over to the collectathon aspect of the game, collecting the mini-cons. You've had more experience with games, especially with games where you do have collectathons.
Yes.
How did you feel about this collectathon?
I didn't think it was too bad. I do think it was good that they did give you I do have a little bit of a nitpick. So, in most collectathon games that I've played, they oftentimes, unlike if you pause the start menu, you can go through and check your progress for the level and see exactly how many objects you have, what level you're on, etc. But I don't remember if we ever really paused the game to see if this was possible, but I don't think there was something similar in this game, which is kind of a bummer, because if you forget, like,
the closest you get is on the main screen before you go to when you're like looking for the area you want to drop in.
Yeah, which is not the best. Like in the Spyro games, they have your atlas, which lets you look at each one. Not only can you see how many, like, breakdown level by level, how much you have for each thing, but you also get hints on where major things are located, which is really helpful. But this game doesn't give you any hints. But they do give you a mini-con that helps you locate them. Yeah. Very late into the game. Yeah. So that's nice that the game at least gives you, like, a way to try and find them. I think there are games that kind of don't, like, there are some poorly done collectathons where it's, like, they kind of just let you loose, and the only way you can find everything is by using a guide, which we had to use a guide too. We couldn't find everything on our own. Yeah, and mostly so that, like, because we could cut down on recording time.
Yes, especially because part of the requirements is you have to get a X number of mini-cons depending upon your difficulty in order to progress to the final battle with Unicron.
And that also makes sense with the collectathon aspects of the games that I've played. Most collectathon games since collectathons are, like, collecting the items is your marks of progression, levels in certain worlds are locked behind, you have to collect this many items, or you have to have done this much stuff in order to move on to the next section of the game, which makes sense. That's present in Spyro, that's present in... Spyro the only collectathon theme I've ever really played.
Crash has a...
Crash, yeah, there's the gems well, I don't know if Crash really locks you behind. Well, you do need to needing to beat all the levels before you move on to the next world, but you don't necessarily, there isn't ever any individual level that's blocked behind, you have to collect a certain amount of this stuff before you progress. Yeah. So, and then those games, Crash Bandicoot, I'd say is less of a collectathon. It's not really a collectathon, at least in the sense that Spyro's definitely more of a collectathon. Yeah. Banjo-Kazooie is, like, I'd say the gold star of collectathons. Or, like, I guess even some of the new Mario games are also more of a collectathon, in my opinion. But anyway.
How many moons do you have?
The Odyssey has so many things. So many things to collect.
Do you have a moon?
Oh my lord, it's so much. Anyway. Yeah. So I, from the collectathon side of things, I think it's fine. I think the most interesting aspect is actually not necessarily the fact that things are locked, but that depending on the difficulty changes how many mini-cons you need before you can progress to the final boss. Yeah. I think on the hardest setting, you need every one of them before you can progress.
Though it's 40, so it's not as bad as, like, in Assassin's Creed, where you have to collect 100 feathers for just a random side task and not even a major part of the story.
I know, yeah. Yeah, and then, like, it makes sense that and, like, that's also fairly common that, like, the true boss is locked behind. Once you get everything, you unlock the true boss. That's also in Spyro 2, in the third game. Yeah. You can only get, like, you only get access to Super Bonus World if you collect everything in the rest of the game, and then you move on to that level. And that's, like, the final area. And then there's the true boss. So that's a thing that I've seen. So that I think is, that aspect I think is fine. I do question, though, I feel like a true collectathon, though, should encourage you to collect everything and reward you for that collection aspect, regardless of the level. Like I feel like if they wanted you to collect all the mini-cons, especially since the story kind of the whole story is about them trying to get all the mini-cons and the Decepticons. Yeah. So it makes sense, story-wise, for them to require you to have all the mini-cons, because that's part of the story. And I feel like just being like, we could do halvesies on that, feels a little, like... Yeah. Like, I
not halvesies, but the easiest setting is 30 as opposed to 40. And that's a good 25%.
And, like, I think, I feel like I would just prefer from them to have just made it mandatory to get everything, and if they thought that was too hard, then that's probably a problem in and of itself, you know what I mean? Rather than them being like, you don't have to collect everything. I mean, granted, this game isn't really a collectathon mostly. I think it's more of an action third-person shooter game than it is a collectathon, so in some ways... that's a little less of a problem, but in other ways, I think, again, if the story is so predicated on the collection aspect, then I feel like that should be a major aspect of like finishing the game. You know what I mean? So, Anyway, those are my thoughts on the collectathon aspect. What about you?
I pretty much agree.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah. The only other thing I can remember to think of that we talked beforehand is the music.
Yeah. I don't know if there's really much to say about the music.
Except for that end credits. The
end credits. I might even... Oh, I don't think I can play it for you guys right now because I deleted the video file. But the end credits are hilarious. Maybe I'll put in a clip of the actual video or something. I don't know. It's hilarious. It's like a rap. It's like a rap section with like a jazz hook. It's hilarious. It's like really funny.
Yeah.
And I guess the Starscream battle theme is the only music from this game that I really can remember.
Yeah.
Clearly, but I think that was much because we spent so much time on Starscream that it kind of just got plugged into my head.
I remember what Unicron's was, to be honest. And also, that was the worst part of the flight mechanics.
Oh my god!
We forgot to talk about
Unicron final fight. Oh,
the flight
lordy.
mechanics of the Unicron flight were even worse.
So, okay, imagine you have really slippery, hard to control flight mechanics, right? Just imagine that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, add circle gravity mechanics on that too, like friggin' Super Mario. Let's add some Super Mario Galaxy stuff here.
Yeah.
And have you flying around a spherical object to try and chase down Unicron, and your only sense of direction is a friggin' arrow on the top. Oh god, it took us how many days of recording? 2 days of
2 days of recording.
2 full days of recording to finish that battle, and we even started
thinking like, hey, maybe we won't finish the game.
Yeah, it was so hard. We finally did it though. It finally happened, and it was horrible.
Yeah.
And it sucked because I don't think the actual battle it still wasn't hard to figure out what was going on.
Yeah.
And I don't really think it was tough. Like, I feel like if the controls were fine, it actually would have been a very easy boss fight.
Yeah, because you just gotta hit him enough times before he hits Cybertron.
There's nothing inherently difficult about Unicron's boss fight. It was more just like the controls were just so...
Because if you get thrown off course, you're going to be screwed trying to get back on balance. And also sometimes it's just so finicky to get him angled correctly to fly up into Unicron's mouth.
Yep, all of that. It was a very darkly lit set too, or it's not set, level as well. So we had to like turn off all the lights in order to see what we were doing in that level. So definitely not something that I would, not in boss fight. Honestly, unless you really want the challenge, I don't even know if I would recommend doing the Unicron boss fight unless you really, really want to.
If you weren't at TFCon Toronto this year, 2019, or did not listen to the podcast, I brought up the fact we were playing that game to Chris Ho, aka Evangelist, and his comment was like, "Oh, I love that game. It's weird that like the game ends at the tidal wave boss fight, but there's still more after that." Yeah. I think that's very accurate. Honestly, it really goes to hell after the. Because how stupid that last island was to just get on.
Lord. Okay, yeah, because the final boss. So there's the Megatron boss fight. There's the final level, the final true final level of the game.
Yeah.
If not the Unicron boss fight.
Yes.
There's this island, and it relies so much on the gliding mechanic, which, as we've stated, is busted.
And there's nothing that indicates you that to go the right way, you need the flight mechanic. So we were like spinning our head. We were like trying to figure out where we could go after we actually got enough powerful weapons to get through the waves and waves of enemies.
Yeah, it was there. I think in the playthrough, it took us about 3 episodes to get through that entire level or something like that. So if that gives you, and the episodes tend to be around 23 minutes long.
Yeah.
So add that together, that's about an hour and 30 minutes just to get through this
and in the middle of like the couple of episodes, we were like, okay, we need better mini-cons. let's get the rest of the mini-cons that we can.
Yeah,
and would really like.
Yeah, it was really rough, and
Mm-hmm.
and the Megatron, honestly, the Megatron boss fight is probably the easiest part of that entire.
Purely because we kind of like purely because of
we
all
kind
of
of
the
cheesed
cheese.
it. We cheesed it. We had a lot of cheese on that pizza.
It was because Megatron himself was a tough contender.
Yeah,
but we had the mini-con that restored our health slowly, and we could just sit.
It was like an auto heal.
Yeah, and we could just sit underneath the platform that Megatron is on, and he wouldn't even come down to us.
No, and you could just heal the whole time.
You could just wait and then go back up, take a few shots at him, have him grab you, and then throw you off.
Suplex you off this thing.
Yeah, throw you off, and then just stay down there and heal again, and then go back.
Yeah, I mean, there were mini-cons that were on that last island that probably would have been a lot more powerful for that boss fight.
Yeah.
But, like, it was just...
Yeah.
He wasn't too bad to figure out, though.
No,
he wasn't. I think he was a more fair difficulty-ish than
Unicron.
Unicron was just absolute garbage.
Mostly because of the flight mechanics. If we didn't have such issues with flight mechanics, probably wouldn't be so hard.
No.
Though also, I remember how disappointed we were when we thought we beat him the first time after getting through the first stage.
Yeah, we thought
like,
the first.
There's another stage, and then we beat that, and
so
there's another stage. No.
I mean, the last stage was really just a last hit.
Yeah.
It wasn't really a full stage, but it was still like...
What? No, we were so close!
Yeah, it was pretty upsetting. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Anyway, it was pretty rough.
Yeah.
And I would say in terms of boss fights, definitely the worst one was Starscream, at least in the main game.
Yeah.
The first Starscream fight was Yikes City.
You needed very specific weapons to get through that.
Yeah.
Or mini-cons, I should say, which was the Dash mini-con and Spark Jump, who had a bit of range and auto-targeting.
Mm-hmm. And technically build up if you, the auto-heal guy was there too, if you found him, which you didn't find until the end of the game, which would have been nice to have for the rest of the game, but nope.
We made it hard on ourselves.
We did. And we even played this on the easiest setting, so it was still pretty tough. So this game is pretty difficult.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the Starscream boss fight took way longer than a lot of the other boss fights.
Mm-hmm.
And the second Starscream boss fight wasn't as bad.
No.
Nearly, mostly because he would stop and do his super Kamehameha move.
Yeah. And we could dodge that a lot easier than...
Yeah, and he was also made a huge target when he was in the air, so, it was a lot easier for us to... We had better weaponry at that point, so it was a lot easier than the first one. But the first one was...
Airburst is best burst.
Yes. Airburst is best burst. I'm trying to think of other things about this game that we wanted to talk about. There wasn't any post-game content, really, outside of just...
Finish the collectathon.
Just get all the... Oh yeah, there's also datacons. So there's the mini-cons, which are the power-ups.
Yeah, and then the datacons, which are
Datacons are artwork, toys,
commercials,
stuff. I don't even think we went to see what it was. We didn't even bother to look to see what we had, but...
it's deep, but...
So that's the only post-game content is that. So if you wanted to collect all the datacons so you could have all the artwork and stuff, then that's what you could get. So at least you get something for completing the game 100%, but nothing too exciting or interesting.
Correct.
So post-game wise, there wasn't really too much involved in this. It was really just finding the mini-cons, beating some enemies.
Yep.
Hating the caves, that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, question. What was your favorite minicon? Was it Airburst?
Airburst.
Airburst was great. Airburst was a rocket launcher kind of guy.
Yeah.
It either would explode on contact or it had a really far range too.
Yeah.
And it was strong enough to blow up dropships, which were probably the strongest
non-boss thing.
Yeah, in the game. So it was really helpful. He was very, very good minicon.
Yeah. Build up was also great.
Yes.
Wish we had him more.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, overall, I think definitely a rough game.
Very rough.
But if you find it cheap enough and you're interested in it enough, I say go for it, just for the hell of it.
You know,
the heck of it.
As someone who is a connoisseur of garbage video games, or at least weird ones, I'd say I don't know if this game would be the kind of game. Like, I don't even know, even if I, like, assuming that I didn't play it because you were interested in Transformers.
Yeah.
I don't know if I, like, even if I was interested in Transformers, I don't think I would have picked this game up initially because I have not touched any of the Armada Unicron trilogy stuff.
Yes.
And honestly, like, it's probably one of the Transformers lines or Transformers continuities, there's the word, that I'm, like, not as interested in.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Michael.
Just fine.
Like, probably Prime is the more interesting of the ones of that era, in my opinion, and animated too. Yeah. But, so for me, that the aesthetic, I think, of those games isn't really my cup of tea. I think it's a little too angsty and boy serious for me. Mm-hmm. So, not my jam. But I totally understand if someone wants to pick this up because it's like one of those games that, like, might be good, might be bad, who knows.
But remember, the game ends at the tidal wave boss fight, and then there's just some weird post-game content.
Yeah.
I was glad I got to play through it. I never want to play through the whole thing ever again.
No. This was a fine one and done kind of game.
Yes.
Definitely not worth completing, I don't think.
No.
So.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you think was the best part of this game? Because I think we've been pretty negative about it, which is fair. It's not the best game in the world. I wouldn't even say it's, like, a good game.
That end credits rap jazz song.
Is that partially because the game's over?
No.
Okay.
Just because it's really good and really fun.
Okay, yeah. So it was really, yeah. So that okay. Game rating for you. If you're giving this game an A to an F.
I thought we were going to do numbers.
Well, whichever one you want to do. Numbers, rating.
Rating.
Give it a rating.
Like a 6.
6 out of 10?
Yeah.
Okay, so better than average?
Yeah. Well, so then maybe a 5.
So you think it's about average?
Yeah.
I'd say that's fair. I think it's a very average game. I don't think it's so bad it's good. No.
Yeah.
I don't think it's broken beyond playability. Like, I don't think it's one of those games that's, like, really glitchy. I don't think we've ever encountered any glitches when we were playing.
No. Oh yeah, we did. Well, it's not like game-breaking glitches, but, like, I guess it's more so like modeling errors, like with Optimus's shadow just
yeah, that was funny.
All the way over there,
well,
and then
get,
like how
stuck in a wall or anything,
or like how Sparkplug was like would just warp sometimes. You're like, where'd you come from?
He would like Superman leap over things. Yeah. So I don't think but there weren't anything. It wasn't anything game breaking. No. Nothing like that would hinder our progress to any degree. So that was nice.
Yes.
Because glitches can be really, really, really annoying, and I don't like glitches. But
yep.
I would probably rate this like I think a C. Standard average grade is fine. Yeah. Nothing too terrible. Maybe even a C minus. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Like I think it's. I think about it. I think there's more negative things that I have to say about this game than positives. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But I don't think it's like not. I wouldn't say don't even pick it up if you're curious kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'd say if you're curious enough and you're a huge fan of the Armada series or whatever, or you're like a huge Transformers nerd like Michael and you have to play every game, then like this one's not gonna hurt you, I don't think.
Yeah.
But just be prepared for a lot of work, and also be prepared for just a difficult time.
Yes.
That would be my thing. So.
Yeah.
Anything else you wanted to say about this game?
No. Minicons. Hasbro, make those minicons.
Do you think they'd do it for a 16-year-old video game?
No.
Okay. Alright, yeah. I'd also, yeah. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say about this.
Third-party companies make these minicons.
Do third-party people make minicons?
No. If it's not G1 or Beast Wars or the movies.
Does Grim Lockamus make customs? Maybe you could have him make an Airburst minicon.
No, he doesn't do that.
Oh, I see.
He just is painted stuff.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Well, I bet like maybe you could
if you're out there and you are a third-party person that also has interest in Armada and minicons, please do the world a favor and make third-party minicons.
Specifically so he can get more of them.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so with that in mind, I think we're good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, please be sure to like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at SoundJack426.
And you can follow me on Twitter at TheRationalDove.
And you can also follow both of us at RDSJ Gaming on YouTube, where we played this game, and you should go check that out.
Yes, please check out our playthrough.
Yes.
It's all there, all 21 episodes, 22?
Something like that. And with that being said, thanks for tuning in. This is SoundJack and Alyssa signing off.